Good morning, everyone. It is such an honor and privilege to be here today. I would like to pause and thank Fred and Laura Lay. Where are you, Fred and Laura? Right up front, for lending us this beautiful facility for this important event. Thank you. They are also big supporters of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, and we thank you from the bottom of our heart. Welcome, everyone. As the announcer said, I'm Colleen Chappell, president of Chappell Roberts, and I'm wearing two hats today. I am also the proud part of a fireman family. My husband, for nearly 30 years, has been a first responder. So I, too, have a unique perspective that's very up close and personal and very real. And I have seen, through his eyes, only just a small aspect of what happens behind the scenes in the line of duty for first responders. And I am aware that there are dark times and times to process and times to think things through, and a lot of it isn't discussed or shared. After reading many, many headlines of first responders committing suicide, we just had to do something, and we wanted to do something. Even though I'm part of the fireman family for over 3 decades, I had no idea personally that first responders have a 10 times more chance of committing suicide or attempting suicide. This is a very, very important topic. I'm thrilled that our agency could do something to make a difference. Our team who's here today put all of their talent, all of their energy, and all of their passion, and I thank them all, into a public service campaign. Our goal is to try to make a difference, to try to raise awareness, and to try to begin a very important discussion that needs to take place and quite often hasn't taken place. There was no better partner than the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. When I immediately called Clara, without even a moment of thought, she said, absolutely, we want to partner with you. We want to work with you and create a public service campaign that makes a difference. The Crisis Center of Tampa Bay is an incredible organization. Virtually hundreds of thousands of people find help, hope, and healing through this jewel in our community, and you're going to hear from Clara today. What our goal is simple. We want first responders to feel comfortable reaching out for help. We want them to know that the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay is here, along with many other organizations, to support them in any time of need. The first responder leaders you're going to hear from today, they are fighting on the front lines of a stigma, and it's a stigma about mental health and about feeling okay to talk about things, because after all, first responders are supposed to be the heroes and the ones that do all the saving. Our campaign is going to illustrate how sometimes that can be very, very difficult. And today, you may not know, is World Suicide Prevention Day. So it's very appropriate that we launch this campaign today. And I'm very proud to unveil this campaign, and it's called First to Respond, Last to Ask for Help.
I am haunted by the trauma and the loss.
By the times when being first wasn't fast enough.
By the lives I couldn't save. And now, I'm the one that needs saving.
Stand up to the stigma. You don't have to face the trauma alone.
No one should have to face the trauma alone, and that is our point with this campaign that we have donated. We will have ads like this that'll run all over social media. We will have large posters that the Crisis Center will work with every agency to distribute, and the goal is to start more and more conversations. We want to create a movement for mental health when it comes to first responders, and our call to action is very simple. Call 211. If you're confused, overwhelmed, if you have any thoughts of harming yourself or anyone else, call, because there's someone on that line that can help you. We hope that our campaign inspires even a single fireman, paramedic, sheriff's officer or police officer, anyone in a first response situation. We hope this campaign helps them. And we also hope that it reaches family members of first responders, because they too are partners in this solution. And we want them to know that there are resources for them to help them understand, learn, and cope as well. With this, I would like to introduce someone who really has been on the forefront of public service and being a first responder her entire career. She is an incredible example to us of not only a leader, but someone who has given everything personally, day in and day out, to those in need in our community as a first responder. So I have the privilege of introducing the 59th Mayor of Tampa, Mayor Jane Castor.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you. Thank you all for being here and shining the light on such an important issue. I thank you. I've known Clara Reynolds for so long from the Crisis Center and worked with them on the wonderful things that they do in our community to help our community members that are in need on a variety of levels. And Colleen Chapel is always there, and her organization. They're there no matter what. And the same for Fred and Laura Lay. We thank you all for everything that you do in our community. As Colleen said, I was a police officer for 31 years, and first responders are a very unique breed. You know, most people say, I couldn't imagine doing what you do, but for firefighters, paramedics, police officers, deputies, we couldn't imagine doing anything else every day, to be able to go out and serve our community and help our citizens and make our neighborhoods safer and improve the quality of life. But the issue with being a first responder, I always tell people that as a police officer, you get to see and do things nobody else gets to see and do. But you have to see and do things that nobody should have to see and do. And people will talk about sometimes the sense of humor, the dark sense of humor that police officers and paramedics have. That's a coping mechanism, because you see things that are unimaginable to the average citizen. And one of the things as a police chief that I felt I had failed as was not providing the opportunity to our officers to be able to deal with those things that we have to see and do. And so we started a retreat some years back, and I would choose the officers that went to it. And of course, why me? There's nothing wrong with me. Why do I have to go? And everyone that went, I asked them if they would come back and talk to me afterwards, voluntary, come back and just tell me how you felt about that. And to the person, every single officer that came back cried and said that they had no idea that what they had had to do throughout their career had had such an impact on them. And to be able to sit with other first responders and share those stories. And it really struck a chord with me, this video. Each of the individuals that said they felt like they couldn't do enough. We're in the business of saving lives. And when you can't do that, you feel personally responsible. And to be able to share that with other officers, with other deputies, with other paramedics, was just life-changing for a lot of our officers. So I can tell you that this service is so desperately needed. We had to mandate that officers that are involved in deadly force situations had to mandate that they had to go and see the department psychologist. And then I hate to admit, it was just a few years back when I was the assistant chief that we also had to mandate that if the officers were a victim of crime. We didn't think about the officers being shot at or the officers getting in these horrific physical confrontations as the victim of a violent crime, and mandating that as well. So you take that stigma away, because there is that sense that we are invincible. police officers literally can't be a victim of crime in some situations. We're expected to take it. And so you need that relief. Because suicide is a very, very serious issue, clearly, because of the ultimate consequence of that. But you think about what leads up to that and the issues in the first responders' lives that not only affect them physically, emotionally, psychologically, but affect their families and affect the way they do their job out in the community every day. So for everyone in here today that wears the uniform or anybody that works as a first responder support, I thank you for what you do every day. It does not go unnoticed by me or by our community, and for that I'm very grateful. And I thank you, Clara, from the Crisis Center, for everything that you and your organization do. And I thank you, Colleen, for the champion that you are in our community in so many issues. Thank you all very much. God bless.
Thank you so much, Mayor Castor. We are so thankful for your service and your leadership. Wow, what a morning, isn't it? I would now like to introduce and welcome Sheriff Chronister to the podium. And let me tell you, when we called his agency, letting them know what we wanted to do, not only were they immediately involved and ready to participate, but he came down to our agency for a photo shoot, for filming. He personally wanted to be there with us and help lead this effort. So I'm very proud to introduce our Sheriff Chronister.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. The DeLay family, thank you for everything that you do for our community. It's such a stronger and a better community because of your passion and your service. I would like to take a moment just to recognize two of our fantastic law enforcement partners, Chief Tony Vasquez with Tampa International Airport and Chief Ken Albano with the Temple Terrace Police Departments. Yes. I'm honored to be a part of this very important and noteworthy campaign, bringing awareness to a problem that still too many people refuse to talk about. At the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, we are working every day to remove the stigma behind asking for help when you're struggling. On this World Suicide Prevention Day, I can't help but stop and think about a friend and a colleague we lost just last year, Sergeant Jonathan Black. Like many first responders, he didn't just see and deal with difficult situations on the job, he dealt with it in his personal life as well. Sergeant Black lost his daughter Emily due to suicide, and he lost 4 friends, each of them first responders, also to suicide. He was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, all of this happening in just a few short years. His struggles made him more aware that so many first responders like himself were also dealing with pain and trying to find a way to cope with it. In his final days, Sergeant Black expressed his vision for a suicide prevention and mental health awareness program. As I held his hand in his final hours, he had one request of me: to make this program a reality to help deputies who are in struggle or in need. Today, I'm proud to say the Jonathan Black Resiliency Program is now part of our annual in-service training at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. We teach deputies to address their stress rather than ignore it. To seek healthier coping mechanisms, we've implemented family therapy and health and wellness classes, instead of turning to pill or a liquor bottle. And to be their brother's keeper by reaching out to coworkers who seem to be struggling. As first responders, we have 2 families. The families we go home to, and the families we put our lives on the line with every day. When we lose one of our own to suicide, it tears apart so much more than just one family. Our law enforcement family and the community as a whole is deeply affected. I believe as family, we must always take care of each other. We can no longer turn our backs on our fellow deputies by saying, that's his or her problem, not mine. That mentality will never be accepted on the job. We would never leave a fellow deputy to handle a dangerous call alone or walk away if he or she is injured in line of duty. So why should it be acceptable when they're struggling? Today I'm pleading with any first responders who are struggling to please ask for help. Like our Sergeant Jonathan Black Resiliency Program, there are resources out there. Help is as close as a telephone call away. You can always call 211 to speak with a highly trained and confidential professional. Please, don't wait until it's too late. Don't choose a permanent solution. Do a temporary problem. We take care of people every day because as first responders, we love what we do. But we must be healthy ourselves before we can help anyone else. Thank you. At this time, I have the pleasure of welcoming Megan Vila to the podium. Megan?
Good morning. My name is Megan Vila, and it is an honor to be in this room with the individuals sitting here today. And thank you for inviting me to come, the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay and Chappelle Roberts. For those of you who don't know me, I am a proud wife of Captain Ricardo Vila with City of Tampa Fire Rescue. He's been on the job for 23 years. I was the proud sister of my late brother, Stevie Ledoux, who served with Tampa Fire Rescue for 30 years as a firefighter paramedic. I'm the proud sister of a baby brother, Captain Bobby Ledoux, who's been on City of Tampa for 12 years. I have 3 nephews who are firefighters with City of Tampa who are firefighters. I have a brother-in-law who's a detective, Eddie Vila, with Hillsborough County, and we have a nephew who's a police officer with TPD, Andrew Horvat. So as you can see, this is such a huge deal to our family because we are a family of first responders. And today on National Suicide Prevention Day, 2 years ago last week, we lost our brother to suicide. Stevie's life was spiraling out of control. He turned to alcohol. He was fighting with his family, and we all knew that something was wrong. There wasn't the awareness, and many of us in our family actually turned to Stevie and said, "Stevie, are you thinking about hurting yourself?" And Stevie told us, "No." But we saw that something was wrong. We just didn't know what to do. And ultimately, he ended his life. After he died, I turned to Google. Because 2 weeks prior to his death, my husband and I were sitting on our back patio with my brother. And he was sharing his problems that he came forward. He asked for help. And because he had a mental injury and not a physical one, they weren't able to help him. Well, we all know in the state of Florida that law has changed. And I thought to myself, you know, if my husband or my brother, they go into a fire, we give them a helmet to protect them. And we protect their body physically, but how are we protecting them mentally? And that is a huge deal. These men and women, the police officers, the firefighters that go in when we're all running out, they see some of the worst things that are unimaginable. I know when my husband comes home and sees our children, and he's taken a dead baby out of a car, that doesn't go away. It stays with them. And this initiative is amazing. 2 years ago, and I don't put blame on anyone, I tried to talk to the leadership of Tampa multiple times, and to no avail, they wouldn't speak to me. I was able to get in with the governor, and I was able to get in with the state fire marshal, and we changed the law in the state of Florida. So to be sitting here today with Sheriff Chronister, Chief LaCicero, the Chief of Tampa Police Department, my brother is looking down, smiling at you all, because you are saying it's okay to come forward. It starts with leadership, and I am begging any first responder that if you are having any thoughts of harming yourself or others, come forward. Call 211. That's what this initiative is for. We are here to help you. I don't even know how some first responders got my phone number, but after doing what I did in honor of my brother, I've had call after call. Thank you for doing this. I now can come forward. And we will no longer have our brother back. Losing someone to suicide is terrible. It divides families. I come from the biggest loving family, and half of us don't speak anymore. And that's our reality. But it doesn't have to happen to other families. And I appreciate every single one of you being here today. And thank you for taking the time and bringing the awareness.
Megan, you're a pillar of strength and a hero. Thank you for sharing that very difficult but real story, because it is real and it is difficult, and we need to hear it so that we can make change. I'm now so incredibly proud to introduce Chief LaCicero, who is with Tampa Fire, and he has given his life to serving others and helping others. He has been with the service for 38 years, and he's going to share his perspective as a leader and as well as someone who spent his life in the field. Chief.
Thank you and good morning. It's my pleasure to be here today to talk to you about this very important movement, really it is. I have had the opportunity to work in the fire service and in public safety for nearly 40 years, 33 of which have been within the city of Tampa. And I remember distinctly how impressed I was to finally put on a uniform and to put on my bunker gear and to work in the field that I wanted to train in. I think what is lost in any discipline of public safety, whether it's police, whether it's EMS, whether it's firefighting, one of the things that's lost is that while the dedication and the intense training to be proficient in whatever you're doing is certainly stressed, but one of the things that's lost is the opportunity to understand and address what you're ultimately going to see, because you're going to see some things you can't unsee. And you're going to see some things that are very difficult to deal with. And I believe that this program certainly will give that opportunity for those that have issues with that and need to talk to somebody. It gives them an outlet to do that. So I'm very, very happy to be a part of this. One of the things in any service, but certainly with our service, it's in an urban area, it's extremely busy. Men and women of Tampa Fire Rescue will go from medical call to extrication to a ship fire to some kind of technical rescue at any given time of the day or night. And while the training is intense and the modification to ensure that you're doing things the right way is intense, one of the things that over time we have lost in translation is the opportunity to make sure that you take care of yourself. So again, I applaud the program and the stance of we need to appreciate what you do see and how you see it. Most notably, the things that come to mind for me is that there's an opportunity for someone to express themselves. While the peer support is tremendous, I know with Sheriff's Office, with TPD, and with Fire Rescue, sometimes it's really not enough. It's really not enough in the sense that in the totality of circumstances of dealing with day in and day out stress of operational items, one of the things that another avenue like this program can provide is that all first responders still have a family. You still have sick children that you contend with. You still have issues with other family members or health issues of close family members and financial issues as well. That just adds to the stress and totality of what's going on. So with all of those things combined, it is a heavy load for some responders. So any opportunity that we can have to ensure that individuals can talk and adjust to the world that's around them and give them a peace of mind and a clear direction to go and understand that people want to help them and have that availability to help them goes a long way. I want to thank all that have been a part of this and what we're trying to do. I thank you so very much from myself and the department. Thank you. Right now, if you would, I would like to invite to the stage Tampa Police Chief Brian Dugan.
Good morning. I've been with the Tampa Police Department for 29 years now, and I've been Chief of Police right around 2 years. And I've had an interesting time as Chief of Police when you look at some of the things from a serial killer to some of the crazy events that have taken place. And whenever I become aware of an officer exposed to some sort of traumatic experience, I always make sure that we have our supervisors check up on them. And we try to make sure we have some type of peer support for them. The things that our first responders see, quite frankly, sometimes it's just not normal. And the things that they see, and then they have to move on with their life, and it's that delayed response that I worry the most about. And it was not too long ago where we had a woman at a mental health crisis, and she drowned her 4-year-old daughter in the Hillsborough River. And I was one of the first people out there, believe it or not. And we had a dive team member in the water doing the search for her. The girl had been underwater for about 25 minutes, and we were able to locate her. And when the officer pulls her out of the water, and we put her in the back of the fire rescue unit that was waiting, I spoke to the officer, and I asked him, I said, well, how old do you think she was? And he looked at me, and he said, the same age as my kid. And so now he has that reference point, and you could tell he was visibly shaken. We put him in the back seat of a fire rescue unit, so he kind of composed himself. And he was in there for about 15, 20 minutes. And he comes back out and he says, Chief, is it all right if I go? My wife has a flat tire and she's stuck on the side of the road. And it hit me like, wow, the transition that our first responders and how it happened so quickly. 1 minute he's pulling a 4-year-old out of the river, and 20 minutes later he's on his way to go fix a flat tire for his wife. Now, how do you process that? And it's very difficult. And so all our first responders, we're so inclined to put others first. It's all about, we're there to help people. That's why we get into this business. And we get so caught up in helping others that sometimes we fail to seek help for ourselves. And so that is what the whole effort is. That's what we're trying to accomplish today. We need to make our first responders comfortable in seeking help. At times they think seeking help is a sign of weakness, where actually, in my opinion, it's a sign of strength. If you have the courage to come forward and just say, hey, I want to talk to somebody, there's nothing wrong with that. In my opinion, that's a sign of strength. And it's a constant battle, and quite frankly, it's a matter of life and death. So at this point, I'd like to bring up Claire Reynolds from the Crisis Center. Claire?
Good morning. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking interest in this incredibly important topic. I want to thank Chapel Roberts for being our partner in this campaign. Certainly to Fred and Laura Lay and CSI Construction for offering us this beautiful venue. Thank you. It couldn't have been any better. Certainly, huge thanks to our partners, Tampa Fire Rescue, our Sheriff's Department, our Police Department. They came as soon as we called, and this campaign would have been nothing without them. I also want to thank the Florida Blue Foundation, the Tampa Bay Foundation for Mental Health, as well as the Smoot Foundation that helped to make this possible. We've talked a lot today. We've talked a lot of very serious topics, but the one piece I really want to emphasize is that the Crisis Center has been in our community for over 40 years, providing help, hope, and healing to all sorts of people in their time of crisis. But today is so unbelievably important. As World Suicide Prevention Day, one of the biggest things that we do are answer suicide calls from people right here in our community. But there's still so much stigma attached to asking for help. 211 is now a partner because that first responder can call confidentially. They don't have to worry that their sergeant's going to find out. They don't have to worry about anything. They can just call. and speak to somebody whose entire job is for them to be heard and provide them the help, hope, and healing that they need to survive. Because our mission is to ensure that no one in our community should face a crisis alone, and that includes our first responders. So thank you. The Crisis Center is honored to be here today, and we appreciate all of the support. So thank you all very much.
I want to do two quick thanks before we open it for questions. The first is the Chapel Roberts team that worked on this campaign and donating their time, their talent, their energy. I'd like them all to stand up if we could give them a round of applause. Like me, they have friends and family who are first responders. They've read one too many articles, and this meant the world to them, so they wanted to get involved and they wanted to do their part. And I would once again like to really take a look at, we have 100% participation from our first responders at the highest level. Can we give them a huge round of applause?